Hey my dudes, welcome back to Fairwinds RV, and for those of you who have never joined us before, my name is Jeremy, and today I'm bringing you a product that is just a little bit outside of my wheelhouse, but I think that it can be very useful to a lot of you. And as a bonus, it can be used both inside your RV and in your sticks and bricks house if you have one. And what I'm talking about is this smart solar powered plant irrigator from RainPoint. Now, if you remember from several months ago, I did another video on a different RainPoint product, and that product was a smart water valve that I use for my RV to shut the water on and off automatically. Using that smart valve, I was able to set up some routines in my Amazon smart device to automatically shut the water on and off to my rig every time I leave and when I come back. And then in addition, I was able to pair those with my water leak detectors so that anytime one of those detects a leak, it will automatically send a signal to my RainPoint smart water valve and again, shut off the water to the rig, avoiding a much bigger disaster. Now this system is a little bit different. It's designed to be used indoors as an automatic plant watering system. Now we're going to get to the features and the operation of this thing in a little bit, but first I just want to say that RainPoint did send me this product for free to test and evaluate and then potentially pass on to you guys, which is exactly what I'm doing, because here's the thing: we would never test and review and then pass on a product that we don't believe in 100%. And based on my experience with my other RainPoint product and then kind of testing this system for the past couple of days, we have no problems passing this on to you guys because it's a really, really great product. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna talk about some features of this product initially. We'll talk about an overview, what it looks like. We'll talk about the setup, both the app on your phone and the physical setup of all of these components here. And then we'll talk about just a couple of tips that I think will be helpful once you get this system set up. And of course, we will demonstrate the product to show you exactly how it works. All right, the first thing I really like about this product is that it's small and it's compact. So living in an RV, it doesn't take up much space and it doesn't weigh very much. The second thing I like about this is that it does its job automatically. All you have to do is program it to whatever schedule, however you want to program it, and then it will just do it automatically. And then finally, as you can see here, the whole thing is solar powered, so you don't even necessarily need to plug this thing in the entire time that you're using it. Now, as far as the components go on this system that I have here, we'll just do a basic overview of all of the pieces and parts, just so everybody knows what they're looking at here. All right, first and foremost, let's take a look at the hub that makes this thing able to be controlled basically from anywhere in the world. So this is the Wi-Fi hub here. This is the part that you need to get installed, again, so that you can control it from anywhere. The second main component here is the actual pump itself, and it communicates with the Wi-Fi hub. And again, it does have a solar panel on it, and if you flip this solar panel up, you'll see where the battery pack is installed in here. All you have to do to remove this battery pack is to just pull it straight out like this, and then it has a charging port right on the side. It just uses your standard USB-C connection. So you can plug this thing straight into your laptop, or you can get a wall adapter and then plug it in to a standard 120 volt outlet to charge via that USB-C cable. Now, the thing that I really kind of don't like about this is if you cannot put this pump in an area that gets sunlight to power up the solar panel, then you have to remove this battery pack to charge it. I would have preferred that maybe there was a charging port on the side where you could just maybe plug this thing in all the time and not have to worry about removing that battery just to charge it. Now, that's kind of a small issue I think that I have with this, and if you look at the documentation for the product, it actually states that on a full charge, this thing will last up to about 15 days. So while having a charging port on the side of it would just make it a little bit more convenient, I really don't think it's a deal breaker for this thing. All right, let's move on to the plumbing part of this, the part that delivers the water to your plants. So first is the tubing here. You can see it's very flexible. It's easy to cut with a pair of scissors. And I think they give you plenty of tubing here for just about any application that you need. All right, second is the little adapters that go between all of the tubes. So first is just this straight adapter, right? So it's just gonna have one inlet and one outlet. You just hook your hose right up to either side of it, and bam, you're good to go. The second one is a T adapter. So this would be for bringing in your source of water on one side of it, and then it will provide water to 2 separate connections up here. And then the last one here is a cross adapter. Again, it will have one input down here on the bottom or whichever side you need it, and then it would provide you with 3 different outputs. And then finally, this is the actual irrigator or the drip mechanism. So you would hook your hose up to the tip of it up here, and then you would just jam this down into the soil in your plant. That way you're actually getting the soil wet all around the roots rather than just dripping water on top of the soil. And then finally, we've got a check valve and a filter to filter the incoming water source. Now the check valve, one thing to keep in mind here is you definitely need to get that installed in the right direction, because the whole purpose of that thing is to prevent backflow back from the pump. And if you don't get it installed correctly, if you get it swapped, then when you turn this pump on, you're not going to get any flow through the system. And then the last thing here is the water filter itself. And this is just there to filter out any gunk that might get into your water source. Now for your water source, you will have to provide that yourself. I've just got a little like Tupperware type container back here. It's got maybe a half a gallon in it at most. And all I've done here is, again, I've got this all set up because I've already been testing it a little bit. So all I've done here is just filled that up with water and then dropped my hose with the filter into that container. So what we're going to get to here eventually, and kind of the whole purpose of this video, is to show how this works. But this is my setup here. We're going to show the operation of it in a little bit. I've got a couple of plants here. I've got a jade plant and a Christmas cactus, and we're going to just send a little bit of water to both of those plants here in just a few minutes after we get done talking about the setup. So what I've got here is the pump, and then on the side of this pump here, you can see there's an inlet and an outlet port for your tubing. So the inlet port obviously is going to come from your water source, so through the filter, and the tubing through the check valve, and then into this pump. And then the bottom connection here is your outlet port, which is going to feed water to all of your plants. And then coming off of the outlet line here, I've just got a basic T set up here. So I've got one inlet coming from the pump, and then my 2 lines going out to the different plants. So again, a very basic setup here, very easy to install physically. There's not a lot of tools required here. As a matter of fact, I think the only thing you really need is a pair of scissors to cut that tubing down to the size that you need. All right, so that was kind of an overview of the products and kind of how to set this up in general. The next thing I want to do is walk you through the app that controls this whole system. But before we do that, I just want to say that the setup of this app is super easy. I really appreciate the fact that RainPoint took the time to get this right. Like I said, this is my second RainPoint product now, and unfortunately they're controlled by 2 different apps, but both apps have worked flawlessly. They were super easy to set up, and I've never had any issues using either one of them. All right, so the first thing you obviously need to do here is download the app, and the app is available for both iOS and Android devices. So just go into whichever store you use and find the HomeGar app. So this is the one you want here with the purple icon. Obviously, I've already installed mine, but just go ahead and hit that install button. And what I'll say here is that in order to control this system remotely and automatically, you will need to set up an account through the HomeGar app. They're going to want to know your email address, and you'll have to set up a password for that account. It's super easy. It's super intuitive. So I'm not going to walk through all of that, because anybody who has really any familiarity with cell phones should be able to walk through that process. Okay, so once you have the app installed, you're going to see just a blank bluish purple screen here. You can see on mine, I already have the hub and the sub device, which is the water pump itself. I have both of those already installed and set up. So when you open your app for the first time, your screen's going to be blank. All you need to do is just add a device by clicking the plus sign up in the upper right hand corner. And I'm not going to walk through this whole process, like I said, but I just want to show you the 2 components that you need to install for this specific setup. So for this setup right here, the 2 things you're looking for is the mini hub, which is in the top right-hand corner of the screen here. So when you click on that mini hub, the first thing it's going to do is ask you to enter your Wi-Fi information. Now, as a note here, this system is only compatible with the 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi system. So That shouldn't really be a problem for most everybody because most routers have the 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi built into them. The only reason I bring that up is because a lot of routers also operate on the 5 gigahertz system. So if you do have a 5 gigahertz system set up, you should be able to also set up a 2.4 gigahertz system, and that's what you want to make sure that you use for this specific setup. All right, again, I'm not going to walk through this. It's very intuitive. When I did this, I entered my information for my Wi-Fi system and then added the hub, and it basically found that hub and added it to this app instantaneously. All right, once the hub is installed and you're back to this home screen again, now you want to add a sub device, which again, on this system is going to be the water pump. So just hit that plus sign again on the top right, and what you're looking for is that icon pretty much right in the middle of your phone that says watering pump. So just click on that and add the watering pump as a sub device. And again, when I did this, it added it almost instantaneously. There were no issues. The only thing I would point out on any of this connection stuff is that if you're operating behind a VPN, you might need to turn your VPN off first before you do this, otherwise you might run into issues. Okay, so back at the home screen here, now we've got both our USB hub and our sub device connected up, and we're really ready to just start programming this thing and testing it out. We're gonna walk through two different things here. So this thing has the ability to water either manually or automatically per a plan or a schedule that you set up. So for the manual watering, you can, like I said, you can do it via the app, but you can also do it via the water pump itself. So there's a button on the side here. All you do is you just push this button and then it will manually water your plants. I think when I did it for about 30 seconds and then it shut off. So there's two ways to manually water, once with the pump and then once through the app. And that's what we're going to look at first here in the app is the manual watering. So to be able to manually water or set up a plan, the first thing you need to do is just click on your water pump icon here, and that will bring you to the water pump homepage. And then as you can see at the bottom, there are two options here. One is plan and the other one is irrigation. The irrigation tab is where you want to go if you want to manually water. So if we hit that button, we see that we have the option to water manually anywhere from 10 seconds all the way up to 60 minutes. So right now I'm just going to leave this at about 15 seconds and we're going to test this thing under the manual watering mode. So I've got 15 seconds selected here. I hit confirm. The pump just kicked on. Now the pump's not very loud, but you can definitely hear it. And then the blue light starts blinking down here. And then also, if you look really carefully, you can see water flowing through some of those connections. All right, 15 seconds is up and it shut off automatically. So that's a really cool feature if at some point you need to just manually water your own plants. All right, now for kind of the meat and potatoes of all of this, the thing that really makes this whole system so cool is that you can set up a plan or a schedule to water your plants on any schedule that you need. So to access that, you just hit the plan tab at the bottom, and then on the next page, you just hit the plus button again on the top right-hand corner, and it brings up some options for that plan. So there are three basic settings in here. So the first one is, what time do you want this thing to start watering your plants? You can select any hour of the day, doesn't matter. The second option is the duration. And again, you can set any duration between 10 seconds and 60 minutes. And then the last one here, which is really cool, is to set up the frequency. So you just click down here where it says repeat, and it's got a couple of pre-programmed things in here. So the first one is every day, and then you can choose to water only on odd days or even days. And then at the bottom, you can hit the custom button, and that will bring up just a list of each day of the week, and you can choose whatever days of the week that you need to water your plants. So if you only wanted to water your plants on, say, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you just set that up and you hit the confirm button, right? So now this app is set up to start watering at 8 a.m., water for 30 seconds, and it's only going to do it on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Okay, so let's test this out. The time here right now is about 11:16, so I'm going to set this thing to start watering for 15 seconds at 11:18. Right, so I've got it set up 11:18, 15 seconds, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I think today's Wednesday, so yep, we're good to go. Now, when you're done making this plan, just make sure you hit that check mark in the upper right-hand corner to save the plan, and now it will come back to your plan homepage, and it'll show you plan 1, start time at 11:18, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, for 15 seconds. All right, and now we're just gonna wait for this thing to kick on, and it should water these plants for about 15 seconds and then shut off, and it's gonna do it all automatically. Okay, and there we go. Right at 11:18, the pump kicks on. You can hear it. Again, it's not very loud, but you can hear it. The light is flashing blue, and then we can see just a little bit of water coming out here, down here on our drip irrigators inside of the plant. And then 15 seconds later, again, it shuts off automatically. Okay, so let's move into the tips part of this. I've really only got a couple of tips that I could come up with on this specific system. So number one, when you get this thing set up, I would recommend taking a couple of minutes to see what kind of water flow this unit puts out. So the way I would do that is I would set everything up just like this, except for instead of putting those drippers inside of the plants to actually water the plant, I would recommend you just get some kind of container, maybe a large glass or something, and put those inside of the glass, and then just run this pump for about a minute. That'll give you a good idea of how much water this pump puts out per minute, which will then in turn help you determine how much time you need to water all of your plants for. Because there's one thing I do know from experience is that you can kill a plant by watering too much. Basically, you're just drowning it. And then the second tip that I have here is that because there's no way to control the amount of flow to each individual plant, this thing essentially just gives every plant the same amount of water. So the tip here is you probably want to choose plants that all have similar watering needs. That way you're not, again, overwatering or underwatering any specific plant. All right, guys, that's really about it. We covered basically the features of this thing, some of the benefits, the setup of the app and the physical system itself, and then the operation of it. It doesn't really get any more simple than this. And that's one of the big reasons that I'm passing this along to you guys, because I think it's a really great system. Based on my experience with RainPoint, it just works all the time. And it's just super simple to set up. And whereas we don't really have a lot of plants in our RV, I know that a lot of you guys out there actually do have some. Plus, many of you still own your sticks and bricks house. So I think this would be a really great solution in your house. You know, if you're going out for vacation for a couple of weeks in your rig, you're gonna be gone trying to figure out, you know, how am I gonna get my plants watered while, you know, we're away from the house? I think this is a really good solution for that situation. All right, and again, because RainPoint reached out to me to do all this and pass it along to you guys. One of the things they did for us is they provided a discount code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link for this product down in the description area. And then also there will be a discount code in there. So don't forget to use that. The discount code is Jeremy20 and you will save 20% off of one of these products from their website. So that's gonna do it for now. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified of all of our future videos. And as always, happy camping and stay safe out there, guys.